Should be back. I've tweaked a few settings. Should be a little bit better now. No, double jump. Where'd you go? Double jump. Come back. Woo!
Baby, come back. Baby, come back.
So
we're buffering again.
So
we are buffering again.
I've turned down the thing
Probably
a
for
little
the
bit.
best. Nobody needs to.
I think it's Let me close that video and just have that window up. Ooh. There we go. All right. I'm going to simplify things a little bit. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Ease up on the computer. Well, yeah, sorry. Ben, you were disagreeing with Ed about Loki.
A little bit, yeah, because I know it's I know how people feel that have come into it thinking that Endgame was just for nothing, it was all pre-planned and was meant to happen. But I don't think that takes away from the actual characters' experiences. They still felt as if it was their own choices and doing their own thing. And this multiverse thing that's happening, the splitting, it basically means that it is going to be up to the actual characters to actually make their own destinies from now on, basically. So Thanos, all that was, meant to happen, but I still feel as if it doesn't take away from it because no one knows about it anyway. It's all good. It's just Loki fucking with everything, and
that's what people want.
Also,
that's what people want to see.
Which is entirely in his nature too. It's not as if it's an uncharacteristic thing for him to be doing.
Yeah, but then the
God of mischief and he's not screwing with things. What's the point?
Yeah, but the stuff about him being the god of mischief and all he causes is actually death and a lot of deaths and then constant failure is kind of an oxymoron there. He's god of mischief.
I don't know. In actual Norse mythology, Loki would kill people just as a prank, and then they'd come back to life.
Absolutely.
And he'd kill them again because it's funnier the second time.
Yeah,
Jesus
but
Christ.
it's all just
Makes sense.
mischief to him.
Yeah, but in the MCU, is that his purpose?
I kind of like there's a line again. Without spoiling anything, there's a line in which Mobius, Owen Wilson, tells Loki, hey, your entire purpose as a villain is to make others better, to lift everyone up. And I thought that was a very meta way of describing villains, because that's literally the point. You need opposition in order for the forces of good to rise up and realize that there's a fight going on and that there's a fight worth fighting. That's fine. I think the characterization of Loki is fine. I think what's happening with Loki is great. For me, it's and he's a great actor. I think for me, it's also it's a Captain Marvel moment of from now on, unless something happens in the show, they have to explain the TVA in every single moment of oh, well, what happened? What isn't Gamora technically a variant? And yeah, technically she is a variant.
But she was meant to happen.
It's they will have to address everything.
Yeah,
I know, but
the problem with this is the problem with introducing time travel in any story is from that point on, you then have to explain why didn't the characters just go back in time and fix it.
Yeah.
And I think Endgame, I love Endgame. What fantastic film. Time traveling in Endgame already is a tough pill to swallow. The TVA is another tough pill to swallow. You have to really accept a lot of the things that they give you. And I think for me, I'm already even with Endgame, I was kind of at my limit of accepting things.
I'll make it easy.
With the TVA, I'm kind of ugh.
Yeah. I'll make it easy for everyone. It's magic. All right. Yep. Done. Explained. All right. I'll just
wheezing.
Or if it was if this was a Hideo Kojima universe, it'll just be all explained by nanomachines. So and that worked for Metal Gear Solid 4. So let's let's just leave it.
If this was Hideo Kojima, they'd say it was explained and give you nothing except the words "fucking lounge suite." And just be yeah, this is it. It's It's a metaphor. And then
Like,
Hideo
oh.
Kojima
Character
himself would
literally
rock up
named
and just
America.
be like, hey, I'm
The
Hideo
character literally
Kojima.
named America just barges into everything and is like, I have the answer.
You mean Captain America? Literally
No,
Captain
just literally. If
America.
this was a Hideo Kojima,
It's America
Hideo,
Johnson.
This is a
America.
Hideo Kojima movie. It would just be like randomly named characters appear. Like, what was
He'll
one
then
of
turn
them
out
Death
to be like
Stranding? What is one of them Death
a
Stranding?
secret clone of. Yeah. One,
Yeah.
America will turn out to be a secret clone of Poland the whole time.
Poland?
Well, if we bring things back to gaming, let's cap off the pop culture talk talking about I think season 4 of Netflix's Castlevania series. I'm a few episodes in. I'm really enjoying it so far. Kai, you're loving it?
This is my jam. I am all about Castlevania.
100%, 100%.
Marathoned
Anyone
the whole
else?
series leading up to it, and I'm now on my binge of the game.
It's so good.
So.
Anyone else? Has anyone else seen season 4?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, I really liked it. I really love how it wrapped it up. Not without spoiling anything, but like.
But that's good. That's always the hardest part, to stick the landing.
I love.
Yeah, like it was especially
that's
like Ellis being kind of pushed out a little bit because he's this gross sex pest. So I'm glad it's gone, but I'm kind of glad it's like all wrapped up in this perfect little thing, and now we can kind of move on to different eras like Castlevania does, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah. I almost think it might be best if we just leave it as is and we don't do the different eras thing. And there's lots of talk about like, oh, they're going to do a new series and it's going to be Simon.
Yeah,
which
I think that's been confirmed.
Cool
I think,
and all, but I'm happy with where they've left it.
Yeah, it seems like it's like a complete
I know they were doing
already.
spin-offs. Exactly, like the ending really tied things up.
And we'll see how the
nicely,
Netflix's Witcher prequel anime adaptation goes, and we'll see how that goes
so
first.
Good,
yeah.
though. That looks fantastic. I'm eager.
Yeah.
Aren't they also doing the Cyberpunk TV?
They're also doing the Cyberpunk, but they don't have any news. They haven't had news for the Cyberpunk one
They're probably
in a while.
trying to solve the game before they do anything
it's coming
else.
out.
It'll buffer.
Out like 2023. No one's
It'll be buffering, then it won't work. Then I'm gonna have to take it off Netflix. It's just gonna be a mess. Oh man, that's just what it's gonna be. All right. Well, I know that Fast and Furious 9 came out as well. I think Ben and we've seen it so far. I really liked it. I think it was a lot of fun, and it's dumb. They literally go to space. Like, I don't know what the next movie is going to be. There's going to be another movie, so yeah. Ben, what do you think?
Actually, in the trailer, though, them going to space.
Yeah. And,
remember when they said the one after Paul Walker died was going to be the last one? Remember that?
Well, I thought I thought they announced 8, 9, and 10 at the same time. I thought that's what they said.
No, because they essentially when Paul Walker passed, I think they resolved themselves to be this is the last Fast and Furious. This is it. And then they proceeded to be more
like
movies
they had that
afterwards.
scene. Like they had that scene where they kind of separate out. And the thing, like Ben agrees as well, is like the whole time, like technically Paul Walker's character is still alive in the universe, but in this movie he's literally reserved to being he's the babysitter for the kids while everyone else goes and fights. It's like, to be fair, a lot of male characters don't get treated like that in movies, so maybe it's a good change of choice. Like I'm not gonna, it's good that there's a movie where the black person doesn't die in the crew, which is good. So I think overall,
did Han come back?
Yeah, he's back.
That's
baby.
what they never show you in.
I do like Han a lot.
They do explain it in the
Someone's
movie.
role is to look up
Okay, that's a spoiler.
I'm sorry.
That's a
it was
big spoiler.
It was. I
It's in the
found
trailer.
out about it in the news. I didn't find out about it anywhere else. Sorry if they spoil it. If the news outlets are allowed to spoil it, I'm allowed to spoil it.
Well, Han's back, and
Can you really
got to watch it to
spoil
find
Fast
out.
and Furious? Is anyone watching those movies for the in-depth plot twists?
I don't know, man, but in the theater I was in,
story.
in the theater that I was in, there were literally like when John Cena, every time he came on screen, people were yelling in my theater. So clearly, it was resonating with them. Like,
Wow, you had a pretty shit cinema.
Hey man, and the thing is like, because the guys I think who were yelling were from India, and like WWE and stuff, wrestling is huge in India, and especially like if you're like around our age, like John Cena, like you would have been like a kid when John Cena was like the shit. So I think that's probably why they're like, woo, yeah. I'm just like, what?
Shut the hell up, we're in a movie.
I can't see him. Like, yeah, you imagine that. Like he really couldn't be seen, so he could never be filmed.
Yeah.
But no, that was really good. And Quiet Place Part 2. Quiet Place Part 2. I think that was really good. It's a good sequel as well, but I'm not sure if anyone else has seen it, but I know we're going further away. Underwhelming?
No, underwhelmed. Well, not by that movie, but by the first, so I don't really have much of an incentive to watch the second. I think as well because I'm already overexposed to horror. Horror is already something that I really enjoy and watch a lot of.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, A Quiet Place, it kind of, I feel like it baffled everyone else, but for me, I was kind of like, this is kind of stock standard with a slightly different.
Yeah.
It's like a slightly different thing going on.
I mean,
I think I'm in the same boat as you. I have quite a high standard for horror. Like higher than my standards for other sort of genre movies. And Quiet Place just didn't do it for me. It was like, okay.
Yeah. What about you, Ben?
The stick snapped and they're getting got.
Yeah, I get that. I only saw the first movie. I haven't seen the second yet, but like they were trying to. I mean, when you think about it, it's kind of like you've seen Don't Breathe, right? The one with the blind guy in the house.
Not yet. That is on my list.
Yeah, well, it's kind of almost the same concept as that, but with aliens. And
Aliens.
yeah,
it's like the game. It feels more like a game where it's like, oh, you can't make an arbitrary amount of noise before like they automatically detect you and come to wherever you are. But
yeah,
enough of the pop culture. Let's get back to the main topic of this week's episode, which is E3, Gaming Christmas, as I like to call it. But I don't know how, or your equivalent holiday. Insert equivalent holiday here. But yes, I mean, first thing that kicked off was Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest kickoff live, which was basically part of his like E3 adjacent or E3 competitive event. Jeff Keighley, people who may not know at home, he's really like a veteran of the video game industry. Is like really well regarded, well respected. He's the person behind one of the people behind the Game Awards and the Spike the Video Game Awards back in the day, and he basically created Summer Games Fest as like kind of his competitor to E3, especially last year when there was no E3. This year it's like an ongoing festival, digital festival, but on Friday, like last week, we had like a kickoff event where I think the main two highlights were basically Elden Ring, which is a new From Software game, and Back 4 Blood, which is the new game from Turtle Rock Studios, the people who made Left 4 Dead. Elden Ring, folks, who's psyched for that?
God, it looks.
I'm keen.
Like, I'm not really a Soulsborne type of person, but the fact that it's been also made in conjunction with George R.R. Martin has me going, yes, thank you, much appreciated, will absorb.
Honestly, not thrilled that he has any more distractions from fucking finishing Game of Thrones already.
I know that man
But,
has
you
like
know,
10,000 other projects except writing his damn books.
Like, well, an interview came out this week saying like he basically explained that he wrote like the kind of the overarching story and some of the characters in the world like a few years ago. So and From Software has kind of taken it like from there, and he's really excited to see the game. But
can you play it?
He said he's gonna play it. He did say he's gonna play it.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's my main excitement.
The trailer looked like it just looked like another one of those games. Like it's like mysterious, British sounding people talking. there's at least now, I will say this. Now there is an explanation for how horses just appear out of nowhere in video games. Like it just appears. It just like comes out of like ether. It's like, yes, that is a good explanation. Just don't even try to explain anything. Just whistle or whatever, and it just appears in front of you out of like dust.
If Elden Ring is half as good as Sekiro, I'm gonna be happy.
Oh, it'll have to be. I think there's a lot of money behind this one.
Software has the pedigree to do what they want.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be there.
And like I think the other highlight for a lot of people was Back 4 Blood, which I don't know. Like, what did you guys think about it?
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah.
I haven't technically seen the trailer or whatever, but coming from someone who played a lot of Left 4 Dead 2, I'm a little bit psyched for them to actually do another thing and for it to be relevant again, so can play with your friends and all that.
Yeah, like I mean, what was it? What was that game? Evolve. That was the one that like Turtle Rock made previously. The 2K games, kind of like Monster versus like Monster on one team versus a 4-player team on the other. Like that was I don't know, like it had potential, but it didn't really like kind of pan out. But I mean, the other thing is like during that conference as well, Chet Falachek and what was it? Basically one of the like creators of Left 4 Dead announced like his studio's kind of similar game, like 4-player co-op game set in this time set in space. It's called the Anna Crisis, which it looks good. Like it looks very similar, and like a lot of games announced this time, it's also an Xbox exclusive. But it'll be interesting to see how like you got the Left 4 Dead studio making a game similar to the originals, and then you got the creator of it making a game similar to the original. So it'll be interesting to see which one wins out if there is like a head-to-head like that.
I feel like Xbox is really trying to make strides to beat Sony in terms of exclusives.
Yeah.
Particularly like obviously with the acquisition of Bethesda, which we can talk about a bit later when it comes to the Bethesda conference. But yeah, I feel like they're really, really trying to beat Sony this time, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends on what they end up doing, but it's going to be hard to beat.
Honestly, I think it's working.
Oh.
It's still not. Like I'm still like
I'm the most excited about it.
I'm still attached to my PS5, but that's because I'm a bit of a sob story for all of the PS5 exclusives. So, it's fine.
But to be fair, do you have an Xbox?
No, because I don't like any of the games on there.
Well, there you go. Question answered.
Yeah, so
PS5 owner doesn't like Xbox games. What? What?
Revolutionary. Never been done before.
Hot takes.
Never been heard of.
Well, after
you can have both. You can have both.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, Ed, you've just joined the PC gaming community. Ben, you've since upgraded into a new level of PC gaming. So, I mean, the great thing about a lot of these, like all these Xbox games, is that most of them are coming to PC day and date, which is going to be interesting. Before we head off to the Xbox, the land of green, how about we talk about Devolver Direct? John, you were there, you were watching live, and what were some of the games that kind of stood out to you in the Devolver stream?
Yeah, I didn't watch it live actually. I ended up skipping a lot of the skit-based kind of stuff just because I was trying to rush through a lot of it.
Yeah, trying to do your work.
But yeah. It's but it looked good though. Like there was like a very slim selection of games, which I think is normal for Devolver. They don't usually have that much going on, but they have some cool stuff usually. So yeah, there was Trek to Yomi, which is a samurai themed the ones who make Limbo and Inside. I forgot their name.
Playdead.
That's right. Yeah, a bit like them. Like just a little more. Like I was surprised it's like a side scroll. Like it looked impressive visually, like technically. Otherwise, yeah, not too much for that one. Like it's just a trailer so far, but it's exciting. Then what else? Wizard with a Gun was announced, which looks a bit like.
I love that.
Wizard with a
Gun.
Gun.
Like Don't Starve to me.
Yeah, it looked like Don't Starve
like
crossed with Bastion a bit.
Someone at Devolver played Don't Starve. It's like, this would be better with guns, as Devolver is wont to do.
It's like, what should we call it? Well, it's about a wizard, and the wizard's got a gun. It's wizard with a gun. All right, done. Send it off 5 minutes before the stream goes live. Just send across the Photoshop file. That's how game development works.
There was Inscription, which is this. I'll just take it from the Steam page because it's pretty succinct. So it's a card-based odyssey that blends deck-building roguelike, escape room-style puzzles, and psychological horror.
Jesus.
So it's kind of
that's a lot of stuff. That's not just...
Yeah. So it's like you're playing it's like a first-person game where you play at a table where there's horror stuff happening around you in the room. And that was really exciting. I'm not sure I can actually play it. I'm not great with horror games, but it looks really impressive. Like, I love the look of it.
I think I've heard of this one actually.
That kind of crazy deconstruction of established genres is what Devolver does best, though, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's good to see Devolver in its element. Anyone else got any highlights? Maybe Ed, Ben?
Yeah. I mean, Dead Store is obviously one of the highlights. I think it appeared in multiple showcases. It's basically Bird Souls. Imagine Titan Souls, but better, and also reminded me a bit of Fury, which is a game from a few years ago, which people loved. So yeah, excited for that. Demon Throttle, I remember only because it's a physical only game. It's a Devolver shtick of like, hey, like, how about we turn the industry around for a bit? We want to reinvent some things. Like, that's what they're trying to push with the Devolver Max Pass Plus, which obviously it's a joke on Game Pass, Xbox's Game Pass. But I think it is either real now or it will be real pretty soon. Like, we appreciate the jokes, but I think we are looking forward to seeing that happen. Yeah, to genuinely seeing that happen.
And I love the literal titles in Devolver's stable. The Gecko.
Yeah.
Hot Pot.
The Gecko again.
Power Wash.
Yeah, a game about being a gecko. You have weird to me is that you don't have Tumble Time, which is the Devolver they usually have a game which showcases their other games like different stories from their games, but that's postponed until 2022 for some reason, and we didn't really understand why. Again, John mentioned Trek to Yomi, that was good, and just before recording Terra Nil, which is a fun ecosystem reconstruction game, which I don't think we have enough of. And yeah, just a really good presentation, probably one of my favorites out of the smaller ones, obviously outside of the bigger publishers. Usually love Devolver, love their stuff, I love the presentations. If you're looking for something to also be funny, because I think it's genuinely funny, check out the Devolver presentation. I know John said he went through it pretty quickly, but if you actually take time to watch it, I think it's pretty good commentary on the industry as well, and as opposed to Gearbox, actually funny.
Yes, Gearbox.
I like that.
We'll get to that.
If you watched the
Gearbox.
if you watch the last 4 Devolver conferences, there's a continuity.
That's what that's what I want to do.
There's this ongoing story of Devolver trying to come up with a conference.
It's you can't watch 2021 if you haven't. Dude, you have to see 2018, man. If you haven't seen 2018, you're not going to get 2020. If you don't get 2020, you're not going to get 2021.
But they had a recap for this, and it's nice. And with the 2021 again, spoilers on the minimum, but it is a reinvention of what Devolver
previously
directs
Devolver Digital.
Yeah.
To borrow a phrase from Ben, I feel like this conference is where Devolver became what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Came into its own.
What it was always supposed to be, I think.
So E3 is the villain for Devolver to become the hero. Is that what you're saying?
Corporate interest is the villain, I think, and just capitalism in general.
Devolver's always been the villain.
They are their own villains, yeah. Self-destruction.
Well, speaking of villains, let's switch over to Ubisoft and the house that Yves Guillemot and Tom Clancy built together. I think they're brothers. I think they've got a history there together. But I'm kidding. I know like Ubisoft's copped a lot of shit over the past like 12 months or so. I mean, rightfully so. It seems like culturally there were a lot of sexism, racism.
Oh, I thought this was gonna be a Far Cry 6 transition. Oh, Ubisoft is bad transition. Oh my god.
oh yeah. I was gonna say. Speaking of dictators with accents, Yves Guillemot. Sorry, it was just right there. I can't help myself. It's just I mean, there's really only 4 games that really stood out here. I'm not counting Far Cry 6 because it's Far Cry 6. It's just another one of those games. It doesn't really seem like it's doing anything different. If anything, like because the fact it just looks like Far Cry 5. Yeah,
don't you have a dog?
You can get pet alligator and stuff as well. This
sausage dog.
Chorizo is great. Also in a wheelchair, of sorts.
Of sorts.
Of sorts. Now that's representation.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
This is what we've come to.
Oh, hey, Ren. Hey, Nikki. Sorry, I'm so sorry if I've offended you. I'm sorry. This is just how we roll here at Doublejump. Jake's not here, so I can say whatever I want. For me personally, I really like the look of Riders Republic. It's kind of like imagine Red Bull created a utopia for extreme sports, and then Ubisoft made a multiplayer game like following that. That's basically what this is, like first-person mountain biking, like 100 people snowboarding down a slope. Like it's crazy, like what this could be. It's like Forza Horizon, but for like extreme sports. I think that's how I'd describe Riders Republic.
It's it's the next game from the people who made Steep, so it makes sense. It's Steep but better. It has everything that Steep didn't have and more. So I hope it's good.
Yeah, but who was talking about Steep?
I actually played Steep. I'll raise my hand up. Surprisingly, when it came to PlayStation Plus, I dunked 20 hours into that sucker. I actually played it like a year or two after it came out. So.
Everyone put hours into Steam.
Oh yeah.
Everyone downloaded it and got a little bit of fun out of it, but
it
I don't think anyone actually cared about Steam.
I think that's a fair point. Yeah.
Once you turned it off, everyone's
I don't know. I feel like stereotypically snowboarders and gamers, like maybe they've always been different, but I don't know if things are changing now that the stigma around gaming's gone away. I don't know.
No, I think SSX would like the top of snowboarding games. Like you have Skate, you have Tony Hawk for skateboarding, and then for snowboarding, I think you've always had SSX and
the 1080 games. Oof.
But actual skaters don't play Tony Hawk, but they just go out and skateboard. I feel like the same would be true of snowboarding games, right?
I don't know. Sean White did play his own snowboarding game.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like
no, I think you're right.
Shredding slopes.
I thank God every single day that no developer has ever tried to make a swimming game. So I've never been offended by the fact that.
No, they have. Well, I guess it's probably been in like the Olympics.
Mario
games.
and Sonic.
In the Olympics,
that doesn't necessarily count. But like,
okay, you mean like a dedicated.
Yeah, because like,
give me a second. Let's see.
You're like, I'm sure.
Next year, Ubisoft will release Swim, and it's going to be like a multiplayer. Here at Ubisoft Montreal, we have made and they're just gonna have like a developer documentary. We went undercover. We followed otters and we followed Olympic athletes and.
We went to Tokyo 2020 and watched them all swim for hours upon hours of time.
I'm just keen for the free play mode where you get to like hit your friend and pretend it was just like we're just swimming.
So we have 5 most popular and best swimming video games. You have the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, London 2012, Beijing 2018, Mario and Sonic 2016 at the Rio Olympics. But then here's the kicker. Michael Phelps pushed the limits.
Wow.
Released in 2018 for the Xbox 360, users can utilize the Kinect technology to feel as though they are actually swimming.
Excuse
Michael Phelps
me?
stream when?
So what?
Well, let me look at this garbage.
You lie down on your. Okay,
sorry, 2011, not 2018. 2011. You're right, John. Yeah.
Yeah. So what? So you basically lie down on your coffee table and you just kind of swim in front of the Kinect. That'll be amazing.
You can receive motivation from Michael Phelps to master your form and your strategies.
But it's high Michael Phelps. It's not like sober Michael Phelps.
It's like Uncanny Valley Michael Phelps. You know, it's not a video of him. It's just like him rendered, but it doesn't look anything like him.
Hey Arjun, how you doing, buddy? Welcome. We're talking E3 today, everyone.
Wow, this looks like garbage.
Obviously, I've never heard of this.
Wow.
But this is a swimming game equivalent of like the Tony Hawk games, you know.
I feel like Tony Hawk
Ride. It would probably be like Tony Hawk.
Oh yeah,
Ride.
much better.
Alrighty.
It's pure garbage.
Well, next we had.
Oh my god, Michael Phelps is so naked in this.
How did those 3D models not get leaked? Well, next up we've got Rainbow Six Extraction. It's basically Rainbow Six Quarantine, which was based on a live event that was in Rainbow Six Siege a few years ago, which is kind of like a wave-based cooperative shooter mode. That's Rainbow Six Quarantine's now Rainbow Six Extraction. That's probably a good idea to change the name from Quarantine, given everything that's happened over the past year. But yes, it is still... it's interesting to see the Rainbow Six. What? What's funny?
The official Xbox magazine UK gave Michael Phelps Push the Limit a 40 out of 100 and said more of a case of sink than swim.
A 40 out of 100 is still an achievement. I'll put that there. If it's anything higher than 0, I'd say that's an achievement.
And apparently, it might have never been sold. Like, it came out for reviewers, and I think people didn't get to buy it.
Wow. Arjun, anyone who's joined us midstream, you've got
no, you can still
Ben's
buy it.
in the top right.
I correct myself.
Got Kai in the middle left, Ed in the middle right, John in the bottom left, and Kate in the bottom right. So, yeah, say hello, everyone. Yeah, well, Rainbow Six Extraction, it seems cool. Like, it's a neat idea, taking advantage of the existing assets and kind of gameplay you have, but it's just another one.
I'd play Rainbow Six Quarantine, where it's just the Rainbow Six guys just sitting at home watching 28 episodes of a sitcom in a row.
Or the very terse family board game. It's like everyone has to like put together a puzzle that ScoMo decided to advocate that they could put together. So they're just sitting at the coffee table putting puzzle together.
Oh my god. But okay, the next game's probably like
You can have the Victoria DLC where timed events where you get to watch Brett Sutton come on.
God, no, not the Victoria DLC. We've suffered enough.
You mash square to live tweet the health conference.
Oh no!
It's a press X to make Dan Andrews' trip.
No,
it's our premiere for a reference, a timely reference, a relevant reference for our global audience. Next up, we had Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. This looked like a lot of fun, and I'm glad that they got that Italian developer, the one who was like really emotional when they first announced Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Like I love that he got a little spot in this as well. This is like a lot of fun. What did you Ben? Oh, sorry, not Ben. Did you have you played Mario and Rabbids, Ben?
No.
Oh man, I wish I did because it seems like a lot of fun. Anyone else? What did you guys think about Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope?
Rosalina is too pure to be taken.
That was scary.
Rabid Peach is all in good fun. Rabid Rosalina.
Rosalina was like kind of too cool for school, like just chilling on a phone or something. I don't know.
Rosalina is too cool for school.
Rosalina is the one true MILF. What do you mean?
Wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
She's the one true MILF.
Are rabbits gendered? I don't know how it works in Rabbid World.
I don't know.
Oh, definitely gendered. Definitely gendered.
I don't know.
Rosalina is a 12-foot-tall space babe.
Move over, Lady Dimitrescu.
We don't need to see a rabid version of her.
Can someone mod in?
Exactly.
Someone has to
Rosalina
mod
was the
Resident
OG
Evil
Lady
Village,
Dimitrescu.
but with a giant Rosalina, like rabid Rosalina, chasing you instead.
But she's super pissed off. She's like super doesn't want to be here. Super doesn't want to do this.
She just like is lobbing like star bits at you. She's just very angry. Oh my god.
Oh, sorry, Lucas. Oh god.
No.
But listen, it looks like a lot of fun, and I think people just like didn't get. I think people liked the premise of the previous game, but they didn't finish it. I think it was just the gameplay didn't hold up. So it'll be interesting to see that kind of tweaked, hopefully, to be a lot more fun this time around. But Ben, I know you definitely been looking forward to this one, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. What did you think? What stood out to you for that one, dude?
Well, I mean, when I was younger, I played the first game that they made, the Avatar game, and I liked how you were able to choose whether you wanted to be the aliens like the blue people or the humans.
Lux.
And
Dude, can you actually choose?
yeah,
That's so wild.
Yeah, like you get. Yeah.
Because I think
Aliens
if you
vs.
choose to play as
Predator,
the
but
humans, you're
Avatar.
like a bad person, right? Like they're like bad people, and they're like, yeah, I'll be the villains.
Can we just talk about how they commodified it? They're like, you can choose to be an oppressed indigenous people.
Yeah.
Or you can choose to be the colonizers. Have fun.
Pretty messed up, yeah.
Colonizers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually wow. Yeah,
To be entirely
yeah,
fair though, this game
finally,
looks really fun. This game
Yeah,
looks
the
really
new
fun.
one.
yeah.
The new
Give
one
me
looks like it's gonna be.
opinion.
What is it about this one, Ben, that really stands out to you, man?
Well, the first one, yeah, Na'vi. Lux is right. The Na'vi are the blue people. And yeah, well, the first game was semi-open world. Like it had kind of levels, like different bits, and they were like kind of big-ish, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like a fully open world, say like Grand Theft Auto, I guess.
Hmm.
But this, like, I know it's a cinematic. All I saw was like a cinematic trailer or whatever, but. Come on, it's like from Ubisoft and we're 2021.
Massive.
Yeah, I would think that it's going to be open world and I'd love that with one of those games, but I do want it to be like you can choose which side you want to be again, because that would just be awesome. Like being able to like go, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm just going to burn shit.
Finally, I can
The
live my
colonizers.
dream of invading a beautiful foreign land and drilling oil.
Finally, I can feel
Oh,
as
boy.
James Cook did.
Pre-order now for the
Finally.
exclusive Burning Village DLC.
No.
James Cameron recommends that you play as the colonizers.
Oh god.
Children.
Oh,
The fun
God.
thing about the Manifest Destiny DLC is that you don't actually pre-order it, you just take it.
You just take it.
Yeah, pre-order.
Oh no.
With the additional DLC of Terra Nullius. There was no one here. Don't worry about it.
Oh, Lux, that's
Oh.
cool. Damn it,
Oh,
no choosing
Are you
sides,
serious?
Lux.
No choosing sides anymore.
Away from the Na'vi, but,
Ubisoft
like,
says that its
I'm
games
okay
are not
with
political. This is a lie. This is political.
I'm okay with that, just because I think it would still be a bit of an iffy position for them to still be taking. Also because I think, at least at the end of that first movie, they're pretty much gone. Like,
Most of them are
minor...
destroyed, right?
Most of them are destroyed and just, like, off, and I think the next few movies are meant to be focusing on the Na'vi, like, perspective
rebuilding.
particularly, so they're probably moving in that direction, rather than, like, sticking with that sort of, like... It's kind of like an Alien versus Colonial Marines situation, but with, like...
I mean,
like,
to be fair, they are colonists, they are Marines, and they are aliens to us, so it's
entirely fair. But yeah, so I think that's probably the better line that they're going with.
so
Also,
the Rabbids DLC. Oh, that's gonna be like Rabbid Navi.
Oh god.
Everything is rabbits.
Everything's the shared Ubisoft universe. When's that game? When's the Infinity War? The like Tom Clancy's games and like Far Cry and like Rabbids. Everything comes together. We need that game. That is the game we need.
Rainbow Six Rabbids Republic. Here we go.
Tom Clancy's Rabbids Republic.
Tom Clancy presents.
Tom Clancy presents colonization.
No.
That's Sid Meier's colonization is a thing.
Sid Meier, isn't that civilization? I guess
No, colonization.
The colonization. Oh, wow. Damn.
Wow. I guess Tom Clancy's gone full March Gotham.
Awesome.
Not
Well,
even pretending it.
how about we move on? Sadly, no Beyond Good and Evil 2 this year.
I think that's actually the biggest story out of Ubisoft.
Yeah, it's what they did.
That game is dead. You're never gonna see that.
Nah.
We have
I hope
hope.
not. I hope
There's
we-
mild bits of hope lingering about in between
think-
all of it.
With Michel Ancel having left the studio and us not having seen the game in the past 3 or 4 years, I think it's sad.
Yeah.
What if you went to pick up your final scrap of hope for Beyond Good and Evil and you turned it over and it was a rabbit?
Yeah.
Just rabbits in everything Ubisoft. Just every single game just has rabbits in it, like Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
No
Alrighty.
Splinter Cell either. No Prince of Persia.
Oh yeah.
Tom
Prince
Clancy's
Persia.
Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
Is there going to be another Prince of Persia?
Yeah, it's a remake.
The
of
remake, The Sands of Time,
Sands of Time.
Oh,
which
Yeah.
looked awful like last time they showed it, and then Ubisoft Forward, and then
Here's
they
the
were like,
pitch.
"Hey, like we'll delay it for May," and then in March they were like, "Hey, by the way, we're gonna delay it indefinitely."
It's a
Now they left
tactical.
the message.
It's a tactical shooter remake of Prince of Persia, set in the Far Cry universe, with rabbits as your allies, and then you can, but you snowboard down all the levels. That is the game we're making. That is what
every
it is.
time you fall to your death and you turn back time, you see actually like a rabbit like lifting the prince back up.
Yeah, and all the characters are actually members of the Gimmo family, because every
Maybe
company.
Oh, this
that
turned political.
Ubisoft is part
No,
of-
no.
Do a
This turned political. No.
do a Shadow of the Colossus thing. Every time you die, you become more and more rabid. Until by the end,
You're
you
gone.
are just
Corrupted.
full rabid. And you're
First
like,
it's one eye and then it's one arm.
yeah.
Well, how about we move over to Xbox and Bethesda land? And first thing to keep in mind, exclusives everywhere. Like, finally, Microsoft. Finally, you're throwing some stuff down.
So much money into this.
You got to do it. If you got to do it. I mean, Sony did it years ago by buying all those studios. It's about time Microsoft got something for its purchases.
Except for just Halo.
Yeah. Hey, Starfield.
Everyone, we
There
made
must
it
have
with
been a lot
Halo.
of-
The next Bethesda game is an Xbox exclusive. Let that sink in. It's an Xbox and Windows
I feel like there
exclusive.
must have been so much pressure on Xbox to prove to their higher ups at Microsoft
It's worth
that
it.
buying Bethesda was a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yep,
At
you've
the
put
same
$3 billion
time,
towards this now.
At the same time, Microsoft also bought Skype, and they didn't do anything with it. You know,
Exactly.
so like
This
sometimes
is a
it's like
better purchase.
Yeah, and this was more expensive than the purchase of Skype as well.
oh yeah, it was significantly.
So
Fun
there
fact.
would definitely be people at Microsoft being like, "You need to prove at E3."
Yeah.
that
Fun
you-
fact,
that
like
Bethesda
I
is going
think
to make
well,
money.
not fun, but I think one of the co-founders of Bethesda passed away recently, and I found out that he was married to
Of ZeniMax, not Bethesda.
of
But
what was
anyway.
it?
No, of ZeniMax.
Oh yeah, of
Yes.
ZeniMax.
Yeah.
Yes. So Bethesda's parent company, one of the co-founders of that, he was married to Linda Carter, who was the original Wonder Woman. I was like, what? It blew my mind.
Whoa. Yeah,
Oh, man.
that is a fun bit of trivia.
Yeah, I was that's crazy.
Nice.
But what did you folks actually think about Starfield from what we saw? You know, playing as an employee of like what is it, Constellation Corporation?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I remember the sticker.
that's all we remember. We remember the sticker.
I don't know. For me, it's kind of like a trailer that you show investors. It's not a trailer for us, people who are actually gonna play the game. For me, it's kind of like the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer of like, we know you're gonna ask about it if it's not here, so we might as well make something because we feel an obligation to show you something, right?
Yeah.
Even for me, the date is like, I understand the reason why they did it, but like to show the cinematic trailer for a game that's a year and a half away, it's pretty far. Compare that with what Square Enix did with Guardians. They had this is our new Guardians of the Galaxy game coming this October, right? Starfield obviously has a different
it's Bethesda
market share.
Bethesda does that.
And it's Bethesda and it's Xbox, right? But I don't know. I feel like we didn't really see much of it. I like what we saw in terms of like the technology. Feels very alien. Feels very like Ridley Scott alien. It's like it's retro tech. It's old tech, right? It's 80s kind of science fiction in a way.
So we're in the TVA.
But it's not
okay.
Yeah. But at the same time, I don't think you can really say much more than this, right? They had an interview with VGC where Todd Howard was like asked about the ladders. Because they were like, obviously, this is a new engine for, but this the second version of the like, what's it called, reaction engine, emotion, something.
It was yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you.
It's the proprietary, Bethesda engine that they've used for the past Fallouts and Elder Scrolls, and they have the second version. And he was asked, something like that. Yeah. He was asked, "Hey, can we climb a ladder? Because that's famously not a thing in Fallout and Elder Scrolls." And he was like, "No, not really." Then why did you show it? Right? Like, it's not very representative of like any game mechanic at all. We have an Easter egg of like the Elder Scrolls 6. Apparently, apparently they might have like showed us the map of Elder Scrolls 6. But other than that, not sure that you can really say much about it.
Well, the other. Yeah, sorry, Kai.
I feel like you raise a good point that the trailer wasn't good for consumers. Just because E3 is a trade show, like it
is
at its core. It's not supposed to be for consumers. It's supposed to be the games industry talking to each other. Like, here's what's happening.
Like, if you go back to the PS3 era,
I think it's weird that that's now something to consider.
Like, if you go up until the PS3 era, there were literally slideshows with pie charts and graphs saying, this is our sales for this year, blah, blah, blah. Like, it wasn't until, like, after the PS3, like, that generation that E3 became more about the consumers, like, directly messaging to the consumers. So, yeah, you're 100% right. It is still a trade show.
It was only a couple of years ago that consumers were invited at all.
Yeah.
That's still incredibly recent.
Yeah. I mean, and the next, like, kind of big Bethesda game, which is from Arcane Studios, is a Redfall, which looks like a vampire hunting co-op game as well.
I'm so into this. So unlike so the thing is about Bethesda as a company, mostly, I would not trust them with a 10-foot pole to be able to make a decent open world game with with a good story and with like interactive characters. I'm sorry, my hot take is that most Bethesda.
Yep. Okay.
Well, most Bethesda open world games to me are empty and barren. Right? They are only impressive by their size alone. Right? But this, the one good thing I think that Microsoft made was in buying Bethesda, they acquired Arcane Studios. And Arcane Studios is fucking fantastic. I
was happy that one of the characters is like an Indian guy. That was cool.
Yeah, and like they're just it looks so like it's so arcane and it looks so stylish and interesting, and the character dialogue is also just really like bantery. I like how they talk. I like the humor.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't really get to see anything that's like gameplay wise, but even in terms of aesthetics and just like story and interaction between your party members, it seems so interesting.
It reminded me of us. It had a look of like Sunset Overdrive, like kind of that Fortnite Sunset Overdrive, that saturated palette. That like it's cool. Like what? Instead of zombies, you're fighting vampires, which is like a different cool premise because like traditionally vampires in like most fiction have like abilities and stuff. So, John, did you? What did you think about Redfall? Did you anything stand out to you?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Arcane as well, so I was happy to see it. I'm not sure if the co-op sort of bums me out because I don't really play anything multiplayer pretty much in general, unless it's local. But everything else about it was like kind of for me in some ways. Like I've been like kind of like semi-obsessed with vampire, like either consuming or otherwise like writing vampire stuff for a while. It's like there's like an Arcane thing with vampires in it and it looks cool. I was pretty excited for that one, even though it depends on how it'll
Arcane has a pretty good grip on the occult, so I'd be very confident in Arcane's kind of like take on vampires.
The thing is it's not an occult take on vampires. It's a science fiction take on vampires.
Okay.
Because apparently the way that they're not nanomachines, but like apparently an experiment gone wrong in terms of at a military base of some kind.
Oh, God.
But like
there was thinking immortality or something.
Yeah, so like, but the way they've constructed them is so interesting. Like how they're these big lanky fuckers with they're just huge and like ghoulish, and I'm like, that is such a cool interpretation, and I just love where they're going with it. So
I hate the name. It's a terrible. I get it. It's because it's set in Redfall, Washington, or whatever. But
and it's also Redfall. It's blood. It's
blood
falling.
Oh, God.
Redfall is obviously going to be great. Arcane, wonderful. I do feel bad for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines too.
Oh, it's
Redfall.
For the last decade, they were just like, okay, guys, it's fine, guys. We've hit some delays, but at least we've cornered the vampire market. No one else is doing vampires right now.
It was Vampire. It was the
and then
Vampire is the other one. Yeah.
In the doors. What up?
To be entirely fair, though, I don't think
that would have given.
No, and to be entirely fair, I think Redfall's more falling into the vampires as an enemy market rather than you are the vampire type market. So I feel like they still have that market cornered. It's just like maybe the stylish and the stylistic representation of vampires that they have isn't going to be cornered for long.
Yeah.
So there may be different things coming out.
Do we know if it's going to be first person? I'm pretty sure it would be if it's Arcane.
It would depend.
They haven't mentioned anything about the gameplay, and that's kind of the point where I'm skeptical. Like, obviously, Arcane is a good studio. Again, kind of what John said, they're good for mostly single-player stuff. In between this and Deathloop, you kind of have like, Redfall is the Xbox property now. Deathloop is going to be the PlayStation property now. It kind of feels like this arbitrary division of like Redfall needs necessarily to be poised against it, what Deathloop is. One other problem to me, Redfall, again, to me, is very much similar to what other games we've seen from Xbox in terms of it's still a shooty. It's still a co-op. It's still a co-op team-based kind of shooter.
Xbox really likes their multiplayer. They like their multiplayer, but I'm still eager to see what they have with it. Like, it could be an interesting. It could be a sort of interesting, like, Left 4 Dead type experience.
Well, that's the thing, because like knowing Arcane, it's probably going to be first person. And it's a cooperative, like, wave-based shooter or whatever. But then we've got Redfall, we've got Back 4 Blood, and we've got what's that, Chronos or whatever
something
else.
Else.
The other thing, like, that's going to be interesting.
Battlefield, in a way,
I suppose. Well, speaking of Battlefield, like Battlefield 2042, I'm hyped for that. I love the way it looks. I'm psyched for 128 player matches on it's like 10 kilometers squared of that's how big the maps are going to be. You can fight you can weaponize a tornado. I'm just going to say that. But apparently in the Battlefield universe, ever since 2011, musical instruments that aren't synthesizers have just disappeared in that universe. So that's because apparently there's no such thing as strings or a piano or anything in any of those trailers.
I remember when they redid Seven Nation Army. That was just fucking all dubstep and all that. Yeah,
I think that was for Battlefield 1. I think
Seven Nation Army and dubstep kill that.
Because I think Seven Nations fought in World War One or whatever. Admittedly,
Westworld. Yeah, that one was good, but Battlefield 1, nah.
Yeah, Battlefield 5 also. I'm sorry, old shooters set in the old days. Old guns are boring. Old weapons, like old vehicles and stuff, they're not as fun as modern stuff. And when you go too futuristic, everything just becomes a laser. So I think this near future setting is good because you still can have bullet drop and things like that. You can still have a bit of the mechanics that require some skill, but
but the thing is about the old-timey guns thing is it still feeds into America's belief that they somehow won all of these world wars, right? Yeah. Like, I feel like the big renaissance of World War II and World War I games that happened a few years ago was definitely still to fuel in America's sort of feeling of, we were involved in these, even though, they're only involved in World War I for about a year. Yeah. And then World War II, they like to think they were the saviors, but really it was like the Soviet Union.
This sounds like an article.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Let's get too
I've already got
political
like
here.
3.
We're getting into some very spicy commentary here.
Why do I always
Yeah.
have the hot takes? Why is it always me?
Okay, my hot
I
take
don't
with
think it's a hot take.
2042.
I'm just-
Yeah, my hot take with 2042 is that like it looks great. Battlefield has always looked great. 5's looked great. 1's looked great. 4's looked great. But
It's
they
always been a
haven't been
benchmark.
good or even great games, right?
Oh,
Like
come
there's
on,
there's
man.
nothing for me to.
Oh, for you.
No,
Okay.
so there's nothing. Yeah, for me, that's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a hot take for me. There's nothing for me to inspire my confidence. Like it's gonna be great. I remember was the Battlefield 4 that had the skyscrapers fall down on you,
Yeah.
and that was like the big selling point. To me, this is kind of in the same vein. Like I don't know. Because I remember being disappointed with Battlefield 4, right? Like, you actually see the cinematics of the gameplay trailers, and like, wow, look at all these dynamic events
kinda
happening
canned.
around you, and I'm excited. Yeah, and then when you actually play them, it feels like it's just like one of 3 different scenarios. It's not that as dynamic as they want want you to feel.
Yeah.
Also, a different problem is, right, like, Halo Infinite free-to-play multiplayer,
that
Warzone
looks so good.
free-to-play multiplayer,
Yeah.
Apex free-to-play multiplayer, Fortnite free-to-play
That's the
multiplayer,
thing.
Battle Royale.
And you got
Is
Warzone.
Battlefield? Yeah, is Battlefield gonna come out for $70 on new next-gen consoles without a campaign, just multiplayer? Even though I like the idea to scrap the campaign because Battlefield has had notoriously bad campaigns. I've never liked them.
Put
It's always
those
bad in
resources to
multiplayer.
making multiplayer better. It's just
Yeah,
simple.
the key thing is I'm scared they won't be competitive in this market.
Yeah,
They haven't had a good
interesting to see.
run, and everyone else is doing really, really well.
But I'll tell you this: the Battlefield player base is very it is very dedicated, and people will come out to check it out. Like it only takes that's the thing. Like if it comes to EA Play or Xbox Game Pass and stuff,
That's the question.
Yeah.
That's the question.
I think it'll come eventually.
That's the thing.
Soon, hopefully.
is none of these games are releasing for $70 at shop fronts anymore. It's all Game Pass.
Well, with Battlefield
I think
2042, we don't know
90%
that.
of what
No,
Xbox
Battlefield
announced-
2042, it's coming out. It's a physical game. Like it's actually just a traditional game. You pay a price and you get into it. It's not a free to play or a subscription based thing. Like you can go to JB and pre-order it now for $79.
Xbox was pushing all of
They showed
even
30
versions of
games.
that
They
can be
had
available
30
on Game
games. 27 of them are on Game Pass.
Game
Far
Pass.
Cry, Battlefield,
Redfall,
and something else.
Starfield, Stalker 2, and stuff like that. Like those would be
Battlefield,
yeah.
Far Cry, and something else is not on Game Pass.
And Forza Horizon 5, it's a Forza Horizon game. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. I'm really psyched to see the new environments and the new expedition single player. It just looks like, I'll put it this way. They filmed to get the realistic skies in the game. They filmed Mexican skies 24-hour time lapses in 12K resolution with HDR cameras. That's how dedicated they went.
Mm-hmm.
They laser scanned the volcano in Mexico so they could get the terrain correct in the game. This is for Forza Horizon 2.
Forza.
That's the horse racing spin-off. Forza. The Forza Horizon 2, they literally recreated atmosphere to get realistic lighting and weather effects in the game. They recreated the Earth's atmosphere in engine so that they could get everything, all the particles and everything right. This is just ridiculous. So I know
They're always driving games that go way over the top with this sort of stuff.
Oh my
look at
god.
the stitching on this Ferrari. Yeah.
Forza Horizon 5, my game of the show.
Yeah.
Because it's because hot take. That's all the substance there is in driving games. It's the detail.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it's an
I feel
activity.
like
It's a
driving
sport.
game-
Yeah, it's the fun is in doing the activity and the spectacle around it.
He just looked at us
So I kind of agree with Kate. Playing Forza Horizon 4, for as long as I play, I've sunk so many hours in it. The driving itself, it's still a race every single time. The gameplay will be still fundamentally the same. For me, the pleasure is in seeing stuff. Obviously, with Forza Horizon 4, I'm biased. I happen to live in Edinburgh. I happen to actually know the place. So I'm driving around, looking at places that I know. Even with Mexico, I think for me, the best part about that is just oh my god, there's a volcano, or oh my god, there's this lovely town I've never heard of before, right? Or they had a moment about like murals.
That's my point. Watch Dogs comes out and they're all like, "Ooh, we took all these photos of Chicago so that we can model it properly." And then a driving game comes out and they're like, "Oh yeah, we recreated the entire Earth's atmosphere to make sure the light looked okay."
The light looks good.
It's just why would you not do that for your other big AAA games?
And the good thing is it's also depicting Mexico. Like this, I didn't think it was Mexico. I first thought, okay, it's like just like South America, like just this region.
I thought South America as well, yeah.
But it's like, it's Mexico, and it's like, oh my god, this is the first time I've seen Mexico depicted and not being like a drug den.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you only see, it's like when they show Brazil, it's like we're going to Brazil and it's like just the favelas, like there's nothing else.
And you see like the brown filter or the green filter because it's foreign. Yeah.
And there's like, oh, we licensed indigenous Mexican artists, we licensed their murals to be on the buildings. Like that's cool. Like what?
And that's kind of what I like about Forza Horizon. I had a presentation for my university about Forza Horizon 5 and towns, especially about a representation of Edinburgh. They did it so respectfully, and like they actually put their hearts and souls in it, right? And awesome. They really care about it, and that's the appeal of it for me. Again, not necessarily into racing games, but the appeal to me is like, hey, like you recreate these worlds for us to like drive supercars in, right? It's exciting to me from a cultural perspective of like kind of in the same sort of like Microsoft Flight Simulator way for me. It's like it's not about me flying a plane, it's not about me driving a car, it's about just me experiencing these places.
Yeah. Well,
I just cannot get into any car games. I grew up in Bathurst of all places with the Bathurst 1000, so I cannot stand anything. I would rather not be anywhere near it. And honestly, the most respectful way to replicate the Bathurst 1000 is to just not replicate it. It already takes place on so the Wiradjuri people of that land. Mount Panorama is actually like a sacred women's site.
Oh.
It has a sacred women's site on it as well, which they were going to build a go-karting track over the top of.
Wow.
Which,
Ben,
yeah, no.
Was that you? Ben, are you...
Look, honestly, no. I'm raising my hand here.
Okay, yeah.
Honestly, everywhere where everyone lives in Australia used to be indigenous, so what can we do? Like, what are we going to do about
it? Don't build a sacred women's site on top of it, a go-karting track on top of it.
There's certain spots in every culture where this is really significant. And it's a matter of just like preserving that as best as you can. Because, you're right. Like we're not going to give anything back to the indigenous peoples. That's never going to happen in any part of the world.
If the choice is the bare minimum of respect to indigenous people or a racetrack, I'm going to go with the first one.
Yeah, the bare minimum.
But maybe that's just my inner city Melbourne hippie coming out.
It is probably
Forza Horizon track. The next track in Forza Horizon just goes past.
So, this burial ground is yours to rip up. The Day of the Dead Festival. Run over as many participants as you can. Sponsored by Mountain Dew.
They play it right after they play it right after Pandora. Choose to be the comment.
Far Cry 6. Is it political? I don't
know. Okay, well we're running out of time here, so let's move on. But I just want to give a quick shout out. Psychonauts 2 looks bonkers, and replaced like 2D. Like it looks amazing. Like that game looks so cool, and I believe it's by the creators who made Limbo. So like one of the founders of Playdead. So it looks amazing as well. And Somerville looks cool as well. Next we've got Square Enix. Basically, it was really only like 2 or 3 like properties. There's Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, and the Final Fantasy kind of like pixel remakes like of the first 6 games, and then we had like Life is Strange. So in terms of like.
So Life is Strange.
Life is Strange. It looks like Life is Strange.
Yeah, there's not much to say.
Oh, I can say something about Life is Strange.
I didn't know there were Asian people in country towns. This just blew my mind. That's all I'm going to say.
You would be surprised. As someone who now lives in a country town.
Fair
It's
enough.
wild.
Fair enough.
When you previously lived in a country town, I can tell you it's not that racially diverse.
That's what I was. Yeah.
I mean, no.
So
Going
notes
from
and
Melbourne to country down.
notes and Square Enix. I don't know how many of you like watched other streamers like restream the conference, because I did. I like doing that. I like just watching other people.
Yeah, they
obviously because of the MCA. Obviously because of the MCA and Twitch, they didn't allow people to stream the music. So in Guardians of the Galaxy, they had placeholder music, but then for anything other than that, they didn't. Life is Strange without the music is like pasta without the tomato sauce.
No,
it's like wild.
So
it's like you only hear the sound effects and it's just tilted, and it's just like this went on for the entire presentation. It was so it's the Kingdom Hearts trailers when they don't have the sound effects and it's only the music. Take the music out, keep the sound effects in, and it's wild. Yeah, it's like Life is Strange is like, and she does the thing with the hand, and Alex, protagonist, does the thing with her hand, and it's just like boom, and that's it for the next 5 seconds. And it's just like I had such a strange experience with this game of like, what the hell is going on?
I love, and I like it's such a change. Like Life is Strange, the original one was like, your power is the ability to go back in time and replay moments. This one is like, your power is empathy. It's like, whoa.
So like that's my problem is that empathy to me is like a power that we should all have, right? Like everyone should, it's like I don't really maybe it's like wrongly named.
Yeah.
I feel like it can be stretched though. So in particular in the case of like, obviously we can have empathy, so we can. The thing is about empathy, if we want to talk about it from a psychological perspective, is that empathy is inferred. It's an inference. It's not actually an objective truth. Whereas her power is to have the objective reading of someone.
To literally feel what they're going through, be in their mindset. And it's cool how like when you're in that person's kind of, when you go into when you empathize with this person, like the world around you kind of reflects, like things start breaking or colors change and things like that, depending on the mood that person's in.
Because I think that's more they're trying to say you can objectively figure out what someone is trying to feel, like what someone is feeling, which is actually probably more of a useful power than basic empathy, because empathy can be misread, right? So if we have misread,
and we saw like the remastered.
I'm gonna.
Yeah. Yes, Kai. Sorry.
I'm gonna get on my high horse. I don't think people need any more incentive to be like, oh, I'm an empath. It's like, no, you're
true.
feeling empathy. Everyone does it.
I'm an empath.
Shut up.
I'm sorry, but I've never met anyone who's got like
when
anything ending in path
sad,
is
I
not
feel
a good.
really sad too. Yeah, it's just like, no, all right.
I'm an empath.
It's great that you feel empathy, but you don't feel more empathy than everyone else.
I'm an empath.
Usually people who say
they're
about
you, shut up about how their sadness is making you sad.
After I sniffed these bath salts, I have a different heightened sense of like feeling. I don't know why. I'm an empath.
Very Shane Dawson. That's very Shane Dawson.
Worse is when they try to frame it as like their curse. They're just, I just feel things so deeply.
And then I saw like Life is Strange remastered.
I'm too sad.
Oh, I saw the video where they did like the Life is Strange remastered video was funny because it was like they show the before and then the after, and the only difference is like it's got anti-aliasing. And I was just like,
no, that's cool. That's good enough. That's good enough.
But I don't know why. I feel like in the Nintendo showing, like the Switch version of it had more of like a cell shaded look. It had like a more.
No.
Is that different?
So that was wild. So everyone was freaking out, being like, "Oh, is there a new Life is Strange game?" No, they made a trailer and a cel-shaded animated style just for the trailer itself. But the games are the exact same.
I thought the Switch version had the cel-shaded look. I was just like, "Why are they just doing it for?" I'll watch all of it.
They did that exclusively for the trailer.
That's confusing.
I did like the cel shaded look.
I know,
it
right?
was phenomenal. It was really good.
Like when it said true colors, I was like, "Oh, great!
rad.
This is what it's called." It's literally them recolorizing the thing, but no, it's that was a different name. Yeah.
I love to see an animation like maybe like a special of something on Netflix in that style.
That would be sick. And Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. That was basically all I got from it was like, "I'm here to kill chaos." That's just a guy, just a gruff white guy running up a castle. He wants to kill this guy because he wants to kill him. That's his thing.
Final Fantasy is all about spectacle most of the time in terms of their trailers, so I'm not really getting much else from that.
They're literally just running upstairs. Running upstairs.
I mean, that's basically most Final Fantasy trailers. If you ever look at them sequentially, they're all about spectacle and about the insinuation of a story, rather than trying to explain anything. Because Final Fantasy is too complicated to explain in a single trailer.
And there's always some like spiky hit, like some kid, and then you see he's looking down, and he's like, "No, I gotta believe," or like, just like, "Ah, you know what I mean?"
Like I remember seeing the Final Fantasy 15, the original Final Fantasy 15 trailer that was in like
when it was like Versus 13 back in like on PS3, like, or you mean like when it was actually 15?
It was like in E3, like when I was still a young teenager. I think it was like 2014 or 2015, where they had a version of Noxus, but it was in like a desert biome, and it was like I just distinctly remember, and it was all spectacle, right? There was very little story going on. But that's basically what Final Fantasy does in terms of their trailers. It's more about showing the spectacle than it is about actually seeing anything else.
And then
right?
it's like, oh, the old people have fucked it up. Now the young people got to fix it. Every Final Fantasy has had that. Like all the 3D ones have had that trope. I feel like all the trailers are like, there's this king, this queen, or whatever. They've got this. They're commanding an army. They're doing wrong things. They're invading another country or whatever. And then it's up to the kids to save it. Like, I don't know.
I feel like that's a very
1 to Persona 5. How much is your game? Kids versus those darn adults.
Those damned adults.
I feel like that's a like just generic understanding of Final Fantasy, because that's not what Final Fantasy used to be, right? And for me, like, so Square Enix is probably my favorite publisher and favorite dev, and this presentation to me was like my most hyped thing, and now I'm incredibly disappointed. It was incredibly bad. And then obviously we knew about Final Fantasy Origin coming into this.
Right,
we heard the rumors, and the rumor was that like, hey, so it's going to be set in the universe of Final Fantasy 1. Final Fantasy 1 is fantastic in terms of the setting, right? Yeah. It's the warrior fight going against Chaos, going against Garland. It was like
Chaos is basically like, it was like the original knight sent on the mission and then got corrupted or something, and now you're fighting that knight.
It's essentially a time loop. It's essentially stuck. The heroes in Final Fantasy 1 are stuck in a time loop, and this is one of the manifestation of the heroes.
Yeah,
came here
to stop and kill Chaos. Black Mage.
Yeah,
it was like very basic RPG. Like, I mean, it was like, I mean, if you think about like when it started, but yeah, like John, did you? Anything that really stood out for you from the Square Enix show?
I did want to ask if anyone played the demo for the Final Fantasy game.
I downloaded it. It was corrupted. It was corrupted. I was so annoyed and pissed off at it. I didn't go back to it. I was like, I've heard the game is good.
It is ready to fight.
Yeah. What about you, John? Did you play it?
In the chat for Ed's
I played through it a couple days ago. It's actually super fun. I was expecting more of a Neo clone because it was like made by the same dev, and it kind of has a similar look, even though you're having like a giant sword and stuff.
Giant sword in Final Fantasy. Oh, I'm done. I'm done. This is the origin. This is the origin. This is the original giant sword.
Out enters the chat and is like, you spoke. You called me with the giant sword. Yes.
No, you're right, John. Like, I thought no one could play it. I thought it was just broken or something.
Yeah, it was fixed like on Thursday, I think.
So is it like an action game? Like is it like a Neo style or like a slowed down Devil May Cry or something? Is that what it's sort of like a Platinum Games type game?
It's a bit of some of them. It's more like it's not. I don't know. I haven't played enough Neo. I haven't played it in long. Like I played it a while ago, so I can't really remember. Can't
fair enough.
Intuitively feel the similarities, but like it's. I know it's closer to like it's definitely a Souls thing.
Yeah,
but it's much flashier and a little more like.
Fair enough. No, fair enough.
Much more like you don't die as easily. It's more about like having a ton like Neo. You have like a lot of mechanics to use that you quickly just kind of flood over you.
I could imagine that.
Yeah.
Well,
otherwise I really liked it though.
Well, you know what? If you liked what you played so far, that's good because I was ready to write it off. As like, forget about it. Well, you know,
it's gonna come out next year probably, so it's gonna be a while until we see it again.
Speaking of something that you'd most likely write off, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, I actually think doesn't look bad. I mean,
it actually kind of looks neat. I feel like they have a lot to prove after
it's hard.
Avengers. They have a lot to prove and fix, and
Yeah.
I think the Guardians of the Galaxy is a good place to start because people have fond memories of the movie and the nostalgia that came with like the soundtrack and the things that came with that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's probably a good place to start fixing what they broke.
Because everything's so throughout the whole thing, I was like, oh, if this was in a vacuum, it would probably be neat. But I'm just constantly thinking, how does he compare to Chris Pratt? How does Drax compare to Dave Bautista's kind of depiction? I mean, Rocket looks very similar.
Who are the actors?
I don't know, but
I disagree. Actually, Rocket looks a fair bit different. To be
Like,
honest.
but he's-
Rocket,
like, his
Rocket has
character is about the
the
same.
beard thing.
yeah, and
I was surprised they didn't give him a Cockney accent though.
and
There's so many
Groot,
similarities with the movies. Because in the
fair
comics, he's like British.
Oh, really? Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't know
sounds
that.
British.
Well,
And I was
and
like, well,
Groot
it's
in this is
president.
just he's jacked. He's bigger than Drax.
Yeah, I mean that's the case in the first Guardians film as well.
Do we know who their voice actors are?
Probably standees for Guardians, I would assume. Like I know that, like for Han Solo and all the Disney properties, there's like one or two guys usually that do them and everything else. That's not the movies, so maybe those guys.
I feel like the better choice would probably to just go with seasoned actors within the community. Like, I feel like that'd be the perfect property where you just bring in like Troy Baker and you're like, please do something with this property.
Let's see. John McLaren as Star-Lord. Like, it's probably like, I bet they're like video game, like kind of veterans or something. But it's not like people that we probably would have known of. Like, it's not like a Matt Mercer or a Troy Baker in it. Or anything like that. All cast and crew, but could be. Surprised.
I mean, for Avengers, you already have those people for Avengers. That's the thing. Like Troy Baker is already.
He's already in the Avengers.
He's
stuff,
Hulk.
Yeah.
He's Bruce Banner. So like, you can't really take him and
that's true.
put him be Groot as well or whatever.
Yeah. Oh well, like all I can like
Honestly,
Star-Lord's
I'm
pistols look so weak. They go pew 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 pew. Like literally, that's the sound.
It's very Star-Lord. I don't know what to tell you. It's pretty
I
Star-Lord.
think I want it to be more melee focused. That's probably why. Sorry, Kyle.
I think I just want it to be anyone.
Nice, Ben.
I'm so far beyond getting excited for anything Marvel at this point.
No.
Like,
except for
the minute
Spider-Man,
I see
right?
That logo.
Dun, 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 dun.
Even Spider-Man, he's wearing on me. Like, I love me some
Spider-Man.
Spidey, but I'm so tired. Every year there's a million Marvel stuff.
I love it. Bring it.
Just let me
Keep
rest.
feeding me.
Yeah, keep feeding me as well. Yeah.
Black Widow's next week, I think. It's gonna be fun.
No,
Or the week after.
no.
In the Heights is next
June,
week. I think it's
July 8th, July 7th.
Week after.
Something like that.
I'm just planning my movies for the next.
Just become ambivalent to it all, and then you're never tired.
So,
Or you could just be like me and be tired about like the 1,000,000,001 young adult fiction adaptations that were beloved to me that somehow get ruined in the translation from like book to movie. All right, like I love being around
Maximum Ride movie.
Like I love being around all of my friends who like comics in some degree because they're so whiny when they get things wrong in the movie, and I'm just sitting here who's a book nerd, and I'm like, I've been dealing with this since I was a teenager. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, I don't know what to give you guys anymore.
You have absolutely got to watch the Maximum Ride movie. It's on YouTube. It was directed by Jenna Marbles, and it's
my god,
so
that's
bad.
garbage. The only good one I've seen recently is the Shadow and Bone adaptation on Netflix, and that one's actually decent. It's actually decent, and it actually improves on what the books were not so strong at.
yeah,
so
people like it. Yeah,
it's really solid.
Fair enough.
So,
Well,
but anyway,
how about we
I do think it might be time for us to move on.
Yeah, like we've got
Guardians looks weird.
I liked Marvel's Avengers War for Wakanda. That trailer looked better than anything I've seen for that game so far. But that's probably because I love Black Panther and like the Wakanda, like kind of. That
How do you
whole
think Black
thing,
Panther
so-
looks like? Because to me, it looks a bit wonky. Like even Shuri to me, it's like,
It's I know. Like it's always weird because I'm always going to be comparing it to Chadwick Boseman's depiction and the MCU's depiction of it. So I think for me, it's even if it's more like accurate to the comics or whatever. Like he looks okay. Like he looks alright. I think I just love the idea of fighting, like playing someone like Black Panther, who's just so athletic and stuff. Like I feel like the other characters, like the action in the game so far has been very like stilted, and I don't know. It doesn't seem very like cool, but who knows? With this one, it could all just be cutscenes, and it's not actual gameplay. Like all the cool stuff happens, so. Who knows? But yeah, like let's cap off the show.
Breath of the Wild too.
Yeah, let's talk about like action that actually could be very good. I think that Nintendo Direct, Breath of the Wild looks. It's what Breath of the Wild plus Skyward Sword is kind of the vibe here. Like you're taking the fight to the skies.
I love what happened essentially with my partner and I when we were watching this. So we literally were up at late hours, and so we happened to turn on. I think it was like YouTube where they were streaming it live, and we turned it on. We're like, oh, Nintendo Direct's on, we'll just watch it. And literally, we turn it on, and immediately, as soon as that happens, they're moving in transition, and then suddenly Breath of the Wild 2 is announced, and John's like, it's all worth it. We've been sitting there for like 10 minutes while everyone else had been sitting there for ages waiting for this announcement. I was like, well, that's it. That's all you wanted from Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, I mean, it was announced a while ago, but now this is the first look at what
2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2019. So, I haven't played Breath of the Wild yet. That's definitely. I was like, I've never finished a Zelda game. I think this might be one I'd love to actually finish and play, even though it's like so, like not.
Try Skyward Sword even. The remaster's coming out.
I don't know.
That's the first one in the timeline. That's the start of it all.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do that. I don't know. I feel like that
game.
It took.
I have no time to invest.
I don't like Skyward Sword that much anyway. So.
Well, I know that like Skyward Sword had the problem of like it just took so long to get anywhere. I think people really didn't like that about it, and
it has a lot of padding.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, what's the other big game was like Metroid Dread. So it's not.
No. Hang on. We have to speak about Breath of the Wild and how they're aiming for 2022.
Yeah,
aiming and Zelda's speech is 2023.
Probably.
Maybe
we'll get another Eiji Aonuma like bowing next year's E3 saying sorry we couldn't.
And it's important to mention that this game is far from being done. They showed a minute.
They showed
a minute of gameplay.
I don't know.
And it was
honestly.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
At least we know one mechanic is going to be like time reversal, which is sick.
Yeah.
It does look cool.
So, that's enough to keep me going for a while.
Well,
I am going to absolutely fuck up some bokoblins who try and chuck shit at me. Bam, right back at you.
But again, it's one of those trailers where like it's not always necessarily for us. It's just that we don't ask about it. Like if they said again, like I'm sorry, we don't have anything to show, that'd be a problem. But you can tell clearly they didn't want us to see more of this game. I don't think so because Zelda trailers used to be proud of themselves. If you remember, the very last Breath of the Wild trailer was 4 minutes long with the entire transition with the musical orchestra, everyone firing on all cylinders. That's how Zelda is celebrated. Zelda used to be proud of itself. This is kind of like, don't look at me, I'm so shy. But like hey, like
it's clearly because they're not quite done yet.
They're not done. Yeah, that's what I mean.
But they just want to show us. They want to satiate because Nintendo has some rabid fucking fanboys who don't know how to calm down. So they just kind of satiate them a little bit.
And literal
we still call it sequel to the Breath of the Wild. Like it doesn't. It's not titled yet.
Yeah, exactly. It's so early.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
This is an announcement trailer more than anything else.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah.
It's like, we're still working on it. Hang on.
I think like E3 2019, we got a sentence. Now we get a minute trailer. Next year, if we follow the trajectory, we'll get a 2-minute trailer, and then we'll see how that goes. Like
Look, I reckon next year we'll get the big 4-minute fanfare.
I hope it comes out next year because obviously Breath of the Wild 2 also linked with the Switch Pro, the Super Switch.
And we didn't get
we didn't get that. So
I mean, we did get a new Nintendo console, which is the Game & Watch, but it's not what we were after.
Is that the new console? I thought they actually did announce like a Nintendo Pro.
On the Game & Watch, that's the new
Game & Watch
Zelda
theme.
That's so underwhelming. So
The
underwhelming.
Game
Like-
Watch is
yeah.
what I wanted. So,
Yeah.
check
I mean,
this out.
the Switch Pro enhanced Switch is definitely happening. Like Bloomberg
Yeah.
doesn't lie. There've been reports for the past few
I think
years.
going-
That's
yeah.
absolutely happening.
And it's getting more and more
But,
like, corroborated. Like it's getting there.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Nvidia's been working on new chips and stuff. Things are leaking left, right, and center. There has to be something happening. All right, next Metroid Dread. So it's not the name of Metroid Prime 4. It's a 2D spiritual. It's a direct successor to.
It's direct. It's Metroid 5
Fusion in on the GBA. So, which was the last? I think. No, there was another.
Samus Returns is the last one.
That was the one on 3DS,
in the
right?
marketing, they kept.
Other
They,
M.
yeah, they kept.
Yeah.
Yeah, Other M doesn't really count. They kind of forgot
It's a
about it.
different,
They don't really. So the thing with Metroid 5 is that, like, for example, like, and with their marketing, they keep saying it's the last entry in the Metroid timeline as it is right now, like the timeline that started with the original Metroid on the NES.
Mm-hmm.
They keep saying it's the first 2D Metroid game in 19 years or 18 years or however long it's been, and that's just not true. It's technically true because the Samus Returns, for example, was a remake
Of
but
2
like
or something, right?
yeah, but
Yeah.
like really, like, and then
Like, ever since the GBA came out, and on the back of my box, I saw that screenshot of Metroid Fusion. I've always wanted to play that game. The only time they re-released it was on if you bought the 3DS when it first came out, and then before they reduced the price and all that, you got 6 free GBA games. That was the only way you could get Metroid Fusion, and I'm so bummed because that game looks so good. I was hoping that, like, you get Metroid Dread, you pre-order, and you get like an eShop copy of Metroid Fusion and Metroid's Metroid Zero Mission, which is like kind of the remake of the first game in like the GBA.
Yeah.
So,
this is number 5 because you have Metroid 2, Return of Samus,
Yeah.
Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, and now Dread.
all I'm
That's
saying
kind
is
of
that I've waited 20 years to play Metroid Fusion on a bloody handheld. That's all I'm saying.
Right. For real. Metroid and Castlevania, the OG Metroidvanias.
Yeah.
Game-wise, Castlevania is dead.
Oh no.
Metroid, it is all on
Metroid
you
lives.
to hold up the legacy. Like, there have been some great Metroidvanias.
And I love the name.
That
The
have
name.
come out.
I don't know what do you guys think
but
about
none
the
of
name.
them have had either Vania or Metroid in the title.
title. Yeah.
The name is great. The name is actually of so like after Fusion, Dread was actually a game that was in development and
Yeah.
production. And then that game never happened, never coalesced into anything. So they hinted at it in like magazines, they teased it in Metroid Fusion, but it never really came out. So now they looked back at it and they were like, hey, like, now we have the technology to make it. So here it is, Metroid Dread. Obviously, it's a different game, but it still has the name.
Well, speaking of things coming back and coming back in a big way, the Advance Wars remasters. I forget the name. I forget the actual names of them, but they look great.
Bootcamp 1+2 Bootcamp is the name of the remaster. I think.
I don't know. I remember like being at the swimming carnival with like my mates on their like DS or whatever, playing the original like Advance Wars, and then the second one, and I think it was Advance Wars Dual Strike, which was on the DS. Like, those games are like hallowed in terms of like turn-based strategy and stuff. Like, do any of you have like a
lucky bastard? What you were doing at swimming carnival was playing DS games while I was swimming my heart out and trying to get to goddamn nationals. How dare you?
Michael Phelps, baby, push your limits.
I swear to God, it's garbage. Absolute garbage. It's like trash. Why did they think that would be a good idea? Investors make terrible decisions about video games. I'm sorry, they do. They make terrible.
But hey, that's
We
just
can't say that.
yeah.
We need their money.
If you're looking to sponsor the Doublejump podcast, please get in contact.
Please don't contact me.
Like,
please,
John or Ben, have you guys ever played the Advance Wars games?
No, I haven't actually. The only interaction I've had with it is editing that one article we've had, which made me really want to play it.
Yeah,
But yeah, otherwise I haven't been able to touch it because I never had a Game Boy Advance, and I think by the time it was on DS, I just wasn't aware of it. So.
And yeah, that's true. That's true. Like, and 3DS and stuff. We haven't seen anything from that franchise in years now. Like, almost like 15 years.
Very unlikely return, I think. Yeah, it's a very unlikely
But
return. People have been saying
and
Advance Wars for the past.
And the thing is, like, remasters are a great way for a developer to get used to a game engine or a game running in a newer like system. So it could pave the way for a new Advance Wars like entry, which would be cool.
Yeah, because that seems to be what happened with Samus Returns, because it's the same dev.
Yeah, makes sense.
So. Yeah, it's WayForward is the people who did the Shantae for Advance Wars, which is a bit surprising.
Boy and his blob, like WayForward knows 2D action, like WayForward is the best choice for making like a game like that. WarioWare, get it together. So that's like I love the Rhythm Heaven, Rhythm Paradise games. They're awesome. WarioWare is kind of like where that kind of came from. The minigame collection of just crazy shit happening on screen.
WarioWare is perfect drunk party material.
Oh yeah,
it's perfect, the type of thing that if you're a kid you enjoy it for that purpose, but for adults it's purely for like drinking game type scenarios where you just you have the same like the remotes and you just pass them around and you keep drinking until you see nothing or you get better at the games. I don't know which.
I like that because Wario is definitely the alcoholic of them.
Oh yeah,
absolutely, absolutely the alcoholic out of it. He would endorse this so much.
Do you guys think Waluigi drinks?
What do you think?
Waluigi drinks socially. Luigi has a glass of sherry at Christmas.
Yeah. Mario's teetotal.
Mario home.
Yeah.
Luigi's the responsible boy.
Peach says she doesn't drink. But she does. She goes.
Peach absolutely smacked. Do you see the man that she is married to, or that she is a partner of? She gets kidnapped every 3 seconds.
Peach doesn't drink in public. Daisy drinks in public.
Daisy drinks in the morning. Daisy drinks like vodka on the rocks in the morning.
Is Peach Peach is meant to be like that
I'm
Valley?
gonna disagree.
Peach is that Valley housewife who just. My husband's out working all day. I'm here with the other.
Live, love, laugh.
I'm drinking with the other women. We go to the club.
Wine aunt. Daisy is resident wine aunt. Honestly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna disagree. I reckon Peach is the one who like self-medicates and it's just like.
That's how she deals with all the
grabs
trauma.
a fifth of scotch in the mornings to just get through her life. Daisy doesn't drink like heavily, but it really affects her. Like she's 2 cruises in and is nuts.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
You think she's like you think she's like a teenage girl at like her first ever party where she has like 2 vodka cruises?
No, she's experienced, but somehow surprisingly still like doesn't have alcohol resistance.
Daisy's the 19-year-old. Daisy's the 19-year-old at her first music festival.
Daisy gives up
way too hard.
Daisy gives off wine aunt vibes to me. Whereas I feel like Peach has got a kingdom to run. She's got shit to do. She can't be seen like getting absolutely hammered.
Let's be real. The Toads do all the work running the kingdom.
Yeah, the Toads.
It's a lot of stress guiding these fucking idiots around. Like, have you
liberate
seen
the Toads?
Have you seen Toad and Toadette? The goddamn idiots.
Liberate the Toads. Bowser is the freedom fighter.
Play as the Navi as you liberate the Toads and the rabbits.
Here we go.
Oh my god. Mario and the 7 Toads.
Jesus Christ.
Right,
oh my god.
Can I just voice my...
I'm going to come back to Doublejump as a freelancer to discuss...
Can I just voice my disappointment? My disappointment that Hellblade didn't show up at all at E3, like at all, even just a tiny little bit.
Well, there was
like,
they had it behind the scenes. Yeah, they had it behind the
scenes. But like that. But like, I feel like at the same time, it should have been a bigger showcase because I feel like Hellblade is the one thing that is actually making me want to buy an Xbox.
A Microsoft property. And I think that is by Microsoft.
I know, but I feel like it's the big story one. For like, obviously they've got Bethesda and everyone. No, but like it is for a lot of people that have taste. I'm sorry. Bethesda is not good taste. Okay, fight me. I'll fight you in a back alley at 3 a.m. But like,
Hellblade chose violence.
I'm sorry. My game centered around a schizophrenic main character is Manhunt. I do not play these Hellblade games.
I don't know, Kate. Like, also you also got like a Plague Tale Requiem, so that's a win. You know?
Yeah, Plague Tale was also good, but like I feel like because Hellblade was one of the first things that they acquired that was a story-based thing, which I was originally annoyed about because I was like, "Fuck, now I have to buy an Xbox just for this game." But like, I feel like at the same time, I was just a little bit disappointed I didn't see anything additional other than behind the scenes. Because the thing is about Hellblade is they already release director's diaries pretty regularly, so it's nothing special to see that at E3. I wish we could have gotten a little bit extra, but I am incentivized to buy an Xbox a little bit more because Redfall exists.
And I want I really want to see Ninja Theory partner up with Hideki Kamiya, who created Devil May Cry. Ninja Theory makes awesome games, has got great writers and stuff, like matched up with Hideki Kamiya, who just created like one of the best, like most like kind of fun game series, like gameplay wise,
like Bayonetta 3, which wasn't at the Nintendo presentation, by the way.
About to say, I was like, where was Bayonetta 3 as well? Didn't that get announced? And there's nothing on it.
It exists, but we don't know what's happening, right?
We know nothing about it really. We know it's happening per se because I think there was a lot of things coming out when like Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2 came out on the Switch.
Yeah.
It did. And Cammy actually went on Twitter to say like, "Hey, like we have nothing to show you. It's in development, believe me." And it's like this is the anti-Starfield. Bayonetta 3 is the anti-Starfield, but they haven't released anything about it. But like the problem is the game was announced with the Switch in 2017. It's been 4 years. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like 4 years without having seen anything from the game, and even when you announced the game, there was a teaser.
To be fair, like
harder and harder to believe.
2017, 2018, like that part of the Switch was kind of like, oh shit, Nintendo was just doing damage control. Like, okay, everyone's loved our first year of releases. Now what do we do? And that was just like announce this, announce that. You know, just do what you can just to get them out there. And I think that was part of that process there.
I feel like it's been said, so it's not a hot take whatsoever. But like the idea that E3 was a little bit disappointing. I think just because a lot of the properties that we were expecting to hear about, I think Breath of the Wild 2 did make it up for a lot of people. But I think like just generally speaking, a lot of the things that people were expecting to hear about, or expecting to hear like anything, like not even just like here is
Elden Ring, I think is.
Oh, Elden Ring's good, yeah. But like people were expecting a little bit more, I suppose. And I think as well the fact that Sony isn't there kind of makes it feel a little bit unbalanced.
Fuck Sony now, man. Sony has been so anti-gamers for so long. They just stopped giving a shit. That they are so lucky that they acquired companies back before that they can throw money at, because ever since since Jack Tretton left, you had the first couple of years of Sean Layden. And then they just stopped giving a shit about doing anything for players in terms of those presentations and doing those things. I
think it's such a shame because Sony is sort of built on their particularly. So like I guess my demographic of like I don't really particularly care about multiplayer or things like that. So a lot of the things that Xbox has to offer, I kind of just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But Sony, on the other hand, has always had the developers and the teams that have focused on story and have focused on single player and sort of immersive experiences, which I care a lot more about. And I feel like there is a different way that the gaming community that particularly care about that stuff.
And now Microsoft has those people. Like now Microsoft's
they're getting those
and stuff.
But the thing is, like Sony has proven themselves. Like the studios that they have, they've been harboring these studios, and they've proven themselves time and time and again. Yeah, every single time when we think about the Game Awards, when we think about Critics' Choice, when we think about GDC, when we think about like game development, in the past few years in terms of game production, outside the PC space, perhaps they've been king. They've been consistently great. And Meditate says Nintendo are the kings of anti-consumer. Yes, they are. Advance Wars is coming out for $60, right? Like Sony is putting like Ratchet and Clank out for $70, but that's a next-gen game that is fully showcasing what the console can do, right? Game Pass is where you want to go if there's value. And again, having bought Series X and my PlayStation 5 in November, Microsoft is killing it in terms of Game Pass,
100%.
in terms of value, in terms
100%.
of infrastructure. But Sony still has the games I want to play.
Yeah.
Like, I have Game Pass, I have access to so many games that I don't play. But then when a Sony game comes out, when the Returnal comes out, when the Ratchet and Clank comes out, I'm like, oh, hold on.
You put down everything.
It's a different kind of discussion,
that's why
right?
For me, I've got the best of both worlds, and like I just see it like, okay, I've got a gaming PC for the multiplayer games and the Xbox games, and then if I want to play like that's the tentpole releases from Sony, I just get a PlayStation. I mean, I can't now because no one can, but ideally.
I think that's also slightly a weakness. That's a weakness of Microsoft to some degree, because all of the multiplayer games that I suppose that I would play or that a lot of other people play, I can just play on PC. So
if you can afford a PC, that's
Well, I mean, but like Xbox being kind of like the harbinger of multiplayer. I think in the more modern gaming environment, where I feel like gaming PCs are just getting cheaper and more accessible.
They're getting there.
So I feel like it's slowly fading out. I feel like they really need to move on.
Well, the thing is, Microsoft is going to bring out, like, you can play all the new releases that are going to be Xbox Series X exclusives and stuff. You can play them on an Xbox One through Project xCloud, like game streaming.
Yeah,
and they're planning to release a little streaming stick, which is going to like a little HDMI dongle plugs into your TV, which will let you play all the Xbox kind of like staple of games. Like, Microsoft is about the services; it gets you in the ecosystem. Microsoft doesn't care where you play as long as you're giving a bit of money to Microsoft and its developers. Whereas Sony's like, you play on our thing, and even if you got a multiplayer like cross-platform game, if they play a lot on our system and they buy it somewhere else, you're still going to pay us money for that. Like, Sony isn't consumer friendly the way it was at the beginning of the PS4. I wish that Sony was back.
I don't think that's true. I think Sony's just in a much better position, and they do whatever people do when they're winning. They don't care.
You get complacent.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's complacency. I would say to some degree they do deserve that. Sorry, Kai, you go.
Yeah, no, I think this is what Sony needs, is to be taken down a peg and just reminded that they're not in as strong a position as they were at the start of PS4. Because that's not going to happen again. Xbox
everyone
colossally fucked up at the start of that console cycle.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because
battling so hard to fix it.
And now that Sony games are coming to PC as well.
Yeah, but to me it's interesting. Like, we speak about Sony, like, arrogance. Arrogant Sony was PlayStation 3. I think PlayStation 3 was a disaster for them, and I think the PS4 was a reaction to that.
You have to
I don't think the PS5...
You will get a second job to afford a PlayStation 3. That's literally what Sony said.
Yeah, no. But I don't think the PS5 is as dire, right? Like, I still think it delivers the game. I think the console is great. In terms of like hardware, like, they're both, competitive. Again, service is going to be a big deal. Sony needs a response to Game Pass, and PlayStation Now isn't it. What Sony needs to do, bundle PlayStation Now with PlayStation Plus together and sell that to consumers and make PlayStation Now actually robust. Games are coming to PlayStation Now as well. Game Pass isn't that much different. The way we think about Game Pass is that much different. The way they market Game Pass is that much different.
It's like it's
PlayStation Now. Avengers came on PlayStation Now, and no one really cared about it because no one really has it, because they're not pushing for it. They really need to revamp the way they market the services that they have.
Yeah, Sony's problem is not the services they have at the moment; it's marketing and reputation, and they need to
reputation
sort
management.
that shit out.
Yeah. And one thing that we haven't considered is that Xbox and Microsoft in particular don't really do that well in Europe. Don't really do that well in Japan. Big markets. Xbox in particular is very big in the States, and everywhere else is kind of floundering. PlayStation has such a strong reputation because of so many other reasons in Europe and every other places.
Heritage. Yeah. That's the thing.
PlayStation's still coasting off the success of the PS2. Still the strongest.
100%. I mean, it came in, and it even goes back to the PS1, like coming in as that, we're bringing 3D to your house. We're going to do it better than anything out there, and games are going to be cheaper to make. So developers like, hell yeah, I don't have to pay a licensing fee to put this on a cartridge when I can pay cents, a couple of dollars to get on a disc. But that's the thing. I mean,
think it really depends.
Oh, you're
comes
right,
down-
TFT. Like you're right, TFT. Like, and the thing is, like, Xbox is not going to sell as many as PlayStation because you don't need an Xbox to play those exclusives. You can have an Xbox One.
Yeah.
You can have
Or
a
a PC.
Windows PC. You could have a little streaming stick in the future. Whereas
You can
if
play
you want to
on
play,
your phone or on your tablet.
yeah, if you want to play the best version of a Sony game, you have to have the latest console. That's just it. And
But
yes, maybe
I
4
think-
years later it'll come to PC. But by that time,
I feel like at the same time, I don't necessarily think that's anti-consumer. I feel like gamers
it's just
have had a
old school.
certain-
It's just old
It's
school.
premium.
Yeah.
I feel
It's
like
premium.
but it's kind of like to some degree. I have to think about it from different
Well,
industry perspectives.
it's not anti-consumer.
Well, if you think about it from the perspective of like, so say a publisher, right? You buy books from certain publishers who are really famous and really, really prestigious.
Yeah.
Sometimes their books are a little bit more expensive than the ones that you get from other
Yeah.
books. It's not that necessarily that's anti-consumer. It's that you're paying for the
Well,
quality.
there's a value
that you know
there.
as-
They've built up. They did the hard work to get that brand value. So shouldn't they be rewarded for that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
yeah.
I mean,
I don't know
it's
with
definitely-
PS.
Oh.
Yep, sorry.
It's definitely anti-consumer, but only in the same way that capitalism is
Yeah,
anti-consumer.
I think-
to a degree. Yeah,
I think when
like
I think anti-consumer, I don't think necessarily that it's on console. Like, I think it's more so Sony's attitude of, we don't do shows for our fans. Whenever we do a state of play, it's
PlayStation
literally
Experience.
political.
Right,
No,
yeah.
but PlayStation
Oh,
Experience
yes,
happened.
but
State of
that
Play
happened.
happened.
But as in, like, we don't want to participate in E3 or even like I don't even think they're in
I do think
Gamescom
that-
anymore, right?
Yeah,
But
I do think
PlayStation
that's
Experience, is that still
necessarily-
going on?
Yeah, there's rumors right now that they are doing one this year. That's kind of the conversation now, that they didn't come to E3 because they're doing a PlayStation Experience. Also, something you have to consider: you pay the ESA if you want to go to E3.
Yeah, which
Sony
they
doesn't need that.
wanna-
Sony doesn't need that. It's the EA doesn't need that. That's why they're not here. It's not
Yeah.
anti-consumer as
And-
much as if
yeah.
like, hey, we don't necessarily need you. When was Sony last time at E3? That was 2 years. That was The Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima.
That was 2018,
18.
I think. It was when they
18
did
or
the church
19.
thing.
Yeah, the 4 games. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even with State of Play, like
I think
Sony still
Sony-
gives you deep dives right into the
Yeah.
games. Something that like E3 doesn't really do. Not that much.
Yeah. That's true.
I
Still
think
think-
Sony absolutely needs to be at E3 right
Yeah.
now because it will go a long way towards fixing that reputation and make them seen as friendlier with the rest of the gaming community.
Yeah.
That I do agree with, but less for the idea of them seeing as friendlier, but more,
Yeah.
but more
Top
so
of
just
mind.
just in these first few years, particularly of the early console cycle, because like it is kind of crucial, especially with like Microsoft making these really big moves with buying up all of these like story heavy and acclaimed developers. They
Yeah.
kind of need to be at these places to kind of stand next to Microsoft and show that they are a competitor
Yeah.
rather than not showing up and somehow I get it that they're kind of like, well, we don't need you, but
Yeah.
really it kind of
I think
looks
it's
to
also
some degree.
nostalgia.
It looks to some degree like they're not like they're
Mm.
And I think as
they're not
players,
paid.
maybe like Ben or like maybe you might agree as well, is like we look forward to E3. We want to see everyone pull off all stops just to show us something. And I think that's maybe also what we're craving. Maybe we just want Sony to have that big showing and wow us like we see from the other people.
But I still think this happens. I'm thinking last year, right? At the TGAs, they announced the Series X in December at the TGAs, and people were like, "Holy shit, this is the new Xbox, right?" And then they detailed the new Xbox in June or May,
Yeah.
and then Sony had an event in July where they're like, "No, this is the future of PlayStation." They showed the PlayStation 5, they showed the games.
Yeah.
They're still part of the conversation, but again, to me, I think it comes down to like owning the space. It's more important for I get it from like a consumer side or like player side of like, oh, isn't it fun that we play together? From a marketing consumer perspective, it's not playing together. Apple has their own events separate from everyone else.
And like it makes sense. Like
Sony is a premium experience,
And it's like why dilute? Why try to get your message out when everyone else is doing it at the same time? Like
that's part of the point. You don't want to compete. You don't want to put Horizon and say, oh, Horizon goes against Breath of the Wild 2, because that happened. And when that happened, Sony suffered. Horizon suffered because Breath of the Wild was better and because people were more interested in that. So you don't want that happening. especially now, if Horizon gets delayed and they have to go against Breath of the Wild again, it's gonna be difficult.
That's very valid, but I mean, to go really, really simple, E3 is fun. People look forward to it, and people stay up late to watch the conferences because it's fun.
Yeah.
And by not being there, you are the party pooper.
And the mainstream news is there.
You are not
well.
associating yourself with the spectacle and the fun.
But
oh my god,
the difference,
it's the big event of the year. Like
I think that's
like you can still
that's what
you can
E3
still do
was
your big
5 or 6 years
announcements.
ago. I think that's what E3 was 5 or 6 years ago. I don't think it is what it is now.
I think it still is, man.
I think the ESA.
I feel like we're going in circles at this point. The argument could go on for
exactly.
for
well,
hours,
I think we'll
it's like...
I think we'll wrap it up here.
I will say.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I will say. I think we're all coming at this from the point of view of
we want to see more
games journalists and people who are very, very invested and not
the average
general consumers.
Yeah.
Like, Zelda might be good. I don't know.
Well,
Ben's got his hand.
I will also say,
speaking of our general consumers and fans out there, maybe we should Ben.
Consumer.
Ben, now you're a professional. You're in here now.
And now from the consumer in the audience.
Hey,
where's Sony? What the fuck, Sony?
No, basically, that's just peer pressure. Let Sony do what Sony does best. Just let them do what they do.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
We'll watch it anyway. Let's be honest.
They'll have an event next month, and we'll forget this ever happened. And we'll forget that we're on E3.
Exactly.
And then we'll get to hear about from a bunch of beta males why Aloy's not attractive to us anymore. We hate empathizing with her now, but.
How can I watch a movie if I can't jack off to bloody cartoon bunny's tits?
No, she's chubby now, apparently. I don't like that. Oh, for God's sake. Murder me.
No.
Take me up behind the shed.
Oh, God. I know. Mind you, probably all of these males are probably not in great shape.
I mean, I'm not saying that, I'm not going from that point of view, she's ugly now. It's just that, you go from what she was in, in...
Zero Dawn.
Yeah, Zero Dawn. And then you have this version of her. It's like, okay, so she's doing all her athletic stuff. She's taking on machines. She's liberating stuff. How did she put more weight on? Shouldn't she have,
Quarantine affects us all differently, alright?
It is called carb loading, and if you're going to take down some giant robots, I recommend you do it.
Have you also considered that women have periods that cause bloating?
Well, and they decide to do their footage while she's having one.
It doesn't really matter. Does it really affect the quality of the game if she is she kind of has a face that's slightly round?
It affects the enjoyment of the people who want to play it. They see it as that.
Play something else. God, swear to Jesus, I bring this back. I bring this point back from the Last of Us Part 2 rant from my League stream. Gamers should not be allowed to consume art. They're not allowed. They're banned. They're put in the corner. Gamers are not allowed to consume anything. No more.
It's not just gamers. It's anything. It's human. Humans can't appreciate.
We are not allowed.
If it doesn't look like something I want to bone, I don't want it.
We had a good run. Art was great for a while. It was fantastic. But now, no, we're not allowed to consume anymore. None. I'm banning all of you. All of you are banned.
I'm not saying it like that. I'm just saying, what was the
art have a
design
good run? It's been facing this shit for.
Also, I think in the footage she looked the same as before. I think it was just that one press, one screenshot or something. I don't know.
It was just there's just one screenshot where her face looks a bit wonky. It looks a little bit weird.
And we all have that. We all have angles like that.
Okay. It looks like it just
in the actual video itself. It's an action. It's normal. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, she just looks a little bit different in terms of her jaw structure looks a little bit different. But that could just be rendering or how they modeled her could be different or could be a bunch of stuff.
That could just be she got punched in the face by
a bear or
metal thing and she's just
now her jaw looks a bit different.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say then her face would be purple, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay, not right then.
Maybe
Like
it healed a little
it does
bit.
heal.
Not at that second.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh. How did this turn into
Anyway.
an argument about Alloy's face
This
structure?
is we got a consumer in here. This is what we all know. He is the voice of the consumer. But these are the questions that get asked, and that's the thing.
It's fine. We'll have another special edition of the podcast when Sony drops their event, and then we'll talk about everything.
100%. Everyone, Ben,
Sony's event
Kai.
is the last chance.
I think we'll wrap it up here. Ben, Kai, Ed,
Gearbox sucks.
we know that. John, Kate, thank you so much for joining me for this very special E3 themed episode. Thank you to everyone who was in chat. Nikki, Lux, Arjun, Meditate. Always appreciate it. I think Rin was there for a bit. Always appreciate it when you folks join up and let us know what you think. But yeah, definitely head over to doublejump.co to read all of the